Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about episode 3 of DMZ. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So obviously we're picking up in the aftermath of the election seeming like it's sliding more towards Wilson's way, and obviously Alma's kind of, a little bit of a celebrity herself, but really she's just trying to help out as much as possible. And at first I thought that was interesting because I was like, wow, you're helping out, you're working at the clinic and stuff. I was like, I thought your main goal was always to help out, just to get scale Christian and get out, but it's like, oh, it's all part of that because you think she's using helping people as kind of incentive for people to vote for Wilson to kind of turn the tides. I mean, the next day is like supposed to be like election day, so which is kind of jacked up, but it's like, once again, she's made her motives clear. Like, she doesn't care about the DMZ, really. It's just a means to an end. Everything for the purposes of taking down Parco so she can get her son back. That's all she cares about. And so, once again, it's just that means to an end. So, she gets called over to Wilson's, and it's actually Susie that wants to talk to him. Once again, Susie in, but he just calls her Susie. But she wants to understand why Alma's doing what she's doing. And even then, she's like, what do you plan to do after you, if you think you're going to be able to just get your son back, like, almost like it's going to be a fairy tale ending, like, what are you going to do afterwards? And it's the situation of Alma's just like, yeah, I'm just going to leave. I have no stakes in this. I'm not trying. But the thing is, Susie makes it pretty clear. She is with Wilson because she became his guardian. She's like, I'm not his mother. I was sent to kill his parents, and because of that child became an orphan, so I took the responsibility. So I'm asking you this question now because no one was there to ask me. Are you willing to take responsibility for your actions? Because there will be consequences for what you're doing. You are in the middle of something that, yes, you came here with your reasons, but you are going to basically make the dominoes fall a certain way, and there's going to be consequences. And can you take care of the orphans that's going to be a byproduct of all this? And it does all come full circle by the end, this conversation. And for Alma, she never really gives up, an answer to that. She really, because she has no plans on it. It's just like, right, she doesn't care about what goes down in the DMZ. Because for Susie, it's like, no one person should rule the DMZ. Because she's like, Parco, Wilson, it doesn't matter. Like, because even she was almost like, you must got it twisted on who you think Wilson is. Like, you might think Parco's the devil, but once again, it's the devil you think you know, in Parco versus the devil you don't know in Wilson. And so it is a conversation of like, right, there can't just be one ruler to the DMZ because everyone's going to get corrupted at some point in time because they may seem different on the surface, but given enough time, like moment to moment, they seem different. Truth be told, is underneath it all, it is the same. So what are you going to do when the consequences come down to it and you've backed Wilson, you're giving him all this support, but he's not the person you thought he was? Hell, even Wilson was like, I care about you too much to give you the wrong impression about who I am. This is me. This ain't no place for pretending. So he even acknowledges, like, right, I'm not pretending anymore. This is who I am, who I've become because of the war, because of the DMZ. So obviously he presents, like, yeah, the stuff that he was kind of hiding from her last episode about trying to find the rat who sold out his gold to somebody, and he's like, all right, let me find out who the thief is. And she ends up finding out the one responsible for stealing the gold is Scale, and she's trying to get ahead of Wilson, try to save her son before Wilson finds him. So, which I think is once again the irony behind it. She did everything to try to get ahead of him to save her son, and just the end result of the episode being what it is, but we'll get to that. But she tries to go to Scale, try to like warn him, but because he didn't want to listen to his mom, because he wanted nothing to do with her, she could have warned you way in advance, but your stubbornness of like not wanting to have anything to do with her when she's looking out for me, when she's trying her best. And then she goes to the one person she can try to, like, right, if I can't go to Scale, I'll talk to Parco. Granted, Parco's at the yard, so her and Carmen kind of go at it, which it turns out Carmen's potentially pregnant. And I even love Alma being like, do you want to have his baby? She's talking from experience of like, I know where, I don't hate you, Carmen. You think I hate you? It's like, no. The fact of the matter is, I just think you're too smart. Like, you being who you are, you don't need Parco, but you submit yourself to him. Because for her, it's like, for Carmen, it's like, that's how I survived, was sticking by Parco. So yes, he may not be this great guy or whatever, but once again, everyone's it's everyone's a means to an end for someone else. Like Parko is a means of an end, keeping her alive. It's like, you think Parko took care of your son when you were going? No, it was me. And she's like, yeah, you did a great job. If my son ends up just like Parko, you didn't stop that from happening. So we don't know how much Carmen really was a mother to Christian in that regard. And I love that Alma's like, right, eventually you're going to get there in about 7 months or so, but you're going to get to the point where you're going to have to choose between Parko and your child. And it's just like, right. And looking at the way things are, I doubt Carmen's going to stick around to, like, she has to, because it's like, right, if I don't, Parko is going to find me and potentially, well, she was like, if Parko's removed from the board, Wilson, because I've been such a big supporter of Parko, I've been on his side, you think Wilson's just going to let me go? He's going to find me and kill me, you know? So that's why she has to stick with Parko, because it's like, right, he'll protect me, he'll look after me. His own version of love, you know, which comes with its own, it comes with its own price, it comes with its own stipulations, but still, like, as long as it's kept you alive this long, and it's going to continue to keep you alive. So that's why, is it like, it don't, because it sounds like, right, it's out of obligation, it's out of self-preservation that you stay, not out of love, you know. And even Alma, like, made her choice. She's like, right, I chose between my son and Parko, and we kind of get more context for that later on between the conversation between Skell and Alma. But it's sad at the same time, because obviously Skell is having his Romeo and Juliet-esque relationship with Teeny, and they, he opens up, like, part of his room and, like, gives her a view, and it's like, oh, you can see, like, across, it's like, right, outside of the DMZ. It's like, yeah, like, oh, if we were there, like, in whatever country, whichever side of the country they're looking out at, but it's like, yeah, well, one of the other two countries that they're looking out at, it is like, we have, like, 3 kids. She's like, 2. He's like, so far. And they're trying to imagine that life together, but that's such a hard thing for her, because she doesn't resent Wilson, but it being his ward, as she says, it comes with its complications. It's like, right, when he was close, like, he worked underneath my dad, and when my dad died, he took a responsibility for me. He kind of goes around calling me his niece. That the fact is that he kind of exalts me to some, like, he calls me his princess. So it's like, and she even says, like, I'm not even Chinese, and he kind of treats me like I am legitimately his family. He kind of puts me on this pedestal, and that comes with its own prison. So for her, it's like, what's the point of, like, dreaming about some life that would never be hers? Because the DMZ is all that Parko and Wilson want. And for her, it's like, this will all be all I'll ever have. This is a life that I'm kind of stuck with now. I have been for the past couple years. Because she was like 14 when her dad died. And so Wilson's always taking care of her, but it's always been kind of like with a vice grip. That it's like, right, like, I can't get out of, like, what was his, what was that, just his Chinatown, and now eventually, potentially what could be his DMZ. It's like, I can never escape that fully. So, but Skell's like, right, what if I can find a way out? That's what I thought he would actually side with his mom. He's like, all right, you want to get me out? If I can get me and Teeny out. But that all kind of goes to hell later on. It turns out, that Parko is making his own deals with the government. And it seems like later on we find out both Parko and Wilson is like, right, so you both speak certain things about, freedom and stuff like that. Like, Parko's like, yeah, this is going to be ours. Wilson's like telling everyone they can make their own choices, but both of them are siding with one of the other two countries to benefit themselves. So it's like, that's interesting. Parko's making it seem like, I guess those dealings were already there, but he needed to slide a little bit more to have, like, the power and weight behind him, because Alma ended up getting so many people to slide over to Wilson's side. So the election was more so his last episode until, like, the very end with the whole Ona situation. So I am curious. He didn't want them to kill Alma. He was like, don't fire shots at her. Like, he's promising, like, oh, I'm not going to hurt you. Like, I'm curious what he would have done. Because regardless of anything, this was someone that at one point in time he loved. I'm sure there's that's probably weighed down by history and complications, but maybe there's a part of that. Is it simply because she's Christian's mom that you don't want to kill her, because if he finds out she's dead, that's going to complicate? I don't know. Maybe it's a culmination of everything. The reason why he decided not to kill her, even though it's like, right, you don't want her like spilling the beans about what you're doing, because if people find out what you're selling us out to the government, that's gonna, because in his mind, it's like, right, I'm making a deal for the future, but it's to put myself in a more powerful position. But he's saying like, yeah, I'm using them, they're not using me. It's like, are you so far up your own ass you can't tell the difference? It's kind of what I'm wondering. Because later on, Alma does find Scale, but he's already fallen into Wilson's trap. I even love, like, Wilson, like, he's like, right. He meets Scale. He's like, I always wanted to meet you in person, and now I get to see the pores. He's like, once you see the pores, you kind of, like, it gets rid of, like, like, the boogeyman aspect that is Scale. It's like, oh, I see you for who you are now. You're just human. Like, once you see the pores of somebody, when you're that close, you recognize just, like, how spongy and how human that they are. I even love him punching him in his stomach. It's like, oh, you got a good mom. You shouldn't be such a dick to her. It's like, right. Especially knowing, like, all that your mom did to come and find you, and you talk to her, you treat her the way you do. He's like, I remember when she used to bring you to work, and you used to like the candies in the machine and stuff like that. That is like, right. She used to just call you Chris all the time. And it's like, yeah. So now they're both, even like Wilson's like, right, I can help you. You want to deprogram your son and everything, right? It's like, you see my methods. I can help you with that. Because he saw a little bit of himself in Alma. It's like, right, getting the information from a dying man. He's like, that's something I would do, Alma. I'm impressed, And obviously, Alma and Scale, because she even refers to him as Scale during the conversation. She doesn't even call him Christian because, like, her little boy isn't there anymore. So he tries to make her see, like, why he is the way he is. It's like, you never saw me. And now we get more of a context and understanding of why he resents her so much. The day he got tattoos, he saw his dad buying guns. And he told his mom that. She called the cops, and that was, like, around evacuation day. And so now we get why. She was like, right, you had my son around something dangerous like that. My son was a witness to that, means he was close enough to all that. It's like, right, I had to get you away, Because Alma didn't want, she says that she didn't want him growing up like she did. She also didn't want, it's like, because for him, it's like, right, you never wanted me to, like, I've got the good grades, I put on a smile, but I never got to really be me. But it's like, how much of you is just you, and how much is just you copying your dad, and how much of it's just your dad whispering in your ears? The reason why he left, he's like, the thing that was going through my mind is on an evacuation day was, what's going to happen to dad? Dad's locked up. So he was worried about dad, and so he went back. So it wasn't that, what I thought in, like, the first episode, wondering, like, oh, did Parko find them and, like, drag him back? It's like, no, his dad, he was worried about his dad and left because he blamed himself. It wasn't just Alma that put his dad behind bars. It's like, if I'd never told mom about that, then, who knows what life could have been like. Maybe on some level Christian blames himself because it's like, right, we could have been a family. So he resents his mom for locking his dad up, but he also blames himself because it's like, that's why he feels so loyal to Parko, because it's like, I owe it to you. You're my dad. You've always been by my side, and I was scared of you at one moment. In that moment of weakness, I told mom something that she used against you and got you locked up, and you could have easily had died. Because most people, as we know, and we learned in the first episode, like, most people from that precinct ended up dying. So we even get insight into the name Scale. It was kind of like his name, kind of the name he would put on his applications, he would tag with it. She's like, I know what that name is. I know what it meant for you. It was your name. And you let your dad basically take that name from you. Because now he uses you as Scale, this boogeyman. So your name isn't even yours anymore. It is your dad's to use. You to use. And for you, you're just a piece for him to move on the board to control and use. And so it is the thing that he became who he became because he needed to survive, but even he regrets all the things that he's done. Like, they stay with him. I mean, it's not like he could ever forget anyone he ever killed. He literally has a public hit list on all the terrible stuff that he's done, but it's like, right, it's for dad, it's for my own survival. It's like, I mean, and at what point is it, because he's lost so much of himself in the process that in that moment he does become Christian again, but it's just like, leave me alone. Like, you don't get to come here and coddle me. But she's like, do you know what I've done? I've almost killed myself trying to find you for 8 years. And then she's like, maybe you're right. Maybe you aren't worth saving. Maybe I should leave. And he's like, yeah, I guess we both can't agree on that. And in that moment, it's like, maybe, Alma will regret it. Maybe in that moment of just like, I shouldn't have said that. I was just so frustrated that you can't see how much I love you and I care for you. I try my best. Did I make mistakes? Yes. Any person is able to make mistakes. Your father is definitely not perfect, but it's just like your resentment is all towards me because he was there for you in these 8 years, not by my choice, by a choice that Christian made. And like I said, I think maybe on some level, he always probably thinks to himself, maybe did I do the right thing? It's like his guilt over like abandoning his dad, and now it's like, right, maybe he could have been with his mom, but what that would have looked like, he's a bit imagining the life that him and Teeny had, like maybe the same thing over the years. For maybe, who knows to say, for the first couple years, maybe he thought about the life him and Alma could have had together, like mom and son, and it's like, I think there's so much complication swirled up in that character about what he did versus what he would have wanted to do, his feelings that day versus his feelings today. It's interesting, like the little parallels like that's going on, well, like all this stuff between Parko and Wilson and Alma and Scale are in the middle of it. At the same time, you have the whole thing with like Odie and Nico, where Nico talked about the fact that it's like, right, Odie said, like, me and Nico don't really talk about that stuff. It's like, she is your friend, right? Like, how much does she really know about you? And he's like, we don't really talk about that stuff. It's like, well, maybe you should. It's like, about the fact that he likes staring at the sky, and he's like, oh, that's stupid. But then later on, there's the thing where those guys try to, like, step to them, and I love that Nico's like, oh, so there's that golden gun coming back around. Because I didn't talk about it in the first episode, but, like, she had picked that up from, like, one of the offices they, like, stole stuff from. And so she's got that, and basically Odie was like, yo, apologize to my friend, tell her that you're never going to call her that or say that type of thing to her again. He's like, okay, I won't. And they both, like, are drinking, sodas that they got out of the vending machines. I thought it was interesting because, like, Odie ends up talking to her, asking, like, right, so does your brother actually, because she has an older brother, and it's like, does he actually take care of you? And she's like, not really. And it's like, oh, is Alma your stepmom? And he's like, is a stepmom the mom, your new mom after your old mom dies? And it's like, yeah, I think so. And he was like, I don't know. But they end up running into the guy he kind of refers to as preacher, the kind of guy that's kind of a little off. And it turns out that guy kept a whole bunch of art. It's like, right, you showed me kindness, I want to show you the same thing. So he ended up, it sounds like, so he was a security guard at a museum. I think he said specifically the Met, so I'm assuming like the Met Gala. And he kept a lot of the art to prevent people from burning it. And so it's like he wanted to keep a lot of the beauty of it, because it's like, right, these pieces of art, these paintings allow you to go to a different world. And even the one he has above is the Starry Nights one. And obviously it means a lot to Odie. And so like him and like Nico like fall back. He's like, right, in this moment, it's just you and God and like the night sky and the stars. It was just in that moment you get to enjoy, like, it's just you in this moment of beauty. So it's just a small thing in comparison to all the destruction and terrible shit that goes down for the rest of the episode, Parko made his decision to like, nah, I'm gonna go get my son back. Let's get locked and loaded. And obviously Wilson's ready to go to war. He's locked and loaded, ready to go. Once again, he's getting weapons from the free states of America, whereas, like, like I said, Parko's getting help from the other side, and so it turns into a full-blown war, and it's like, this is kind of the consequences of Alma. Like, would things have ever come down to this? Maybe, maybe not. Alma definitely knocked the dominoes down, and it's like, right, all of this is a byproduct of you, someone who came in here who hasn't lived in the DMZ, who just came here to get her son. A couple of days, she threw a wrench in the ecosystem that was this. It's like I said, I don't think it all falls on Alma. The DMZ was always going to be a powder keg, and she just happened to be one of the fuses that ended up lighting stuff, I think. I think it would have eventually gotten there anyway, but it's just nothing but death and fighting all around. And then it comes down to it, a one-on-one between Parko and Wilson. And he's like, oh yeah, I always wanted to settle this with blood and bones. And so they go duke it out. Like, Parko, like, that was kind of a very one-sided fight. Like, Wilson's kind of doing some, but it's like, nah, Parko's landing all the blows. Caesar ended up going to get free Scale, and obviously you have Alma confronting Parko about, like, because obviously it's like seeing, like, Wilson, seeing him in that condition, she feels bad because that was a friend of hers, despite how much things have changed, how things are different now. But when the time comes, you know, she's trying to talk to Parko about, like, right, what they had at one point in time, it was love, it was something special. It did mean something at one point in time. But then obviously, you know, she's like, the Parko I knew before wouldn't be a puppet. He's like, no, I ain't no puppet to nobody. You know, so he's basically giving her an out. It's like, right, you leave and you never come back again. Because if I see you again, my eyes will be the last thing you see before you die. And Scale ends up making his choice. He sticks around. Even Wilson tried to tell him, like, Christian, you don't have to do this. This isn't his ward. This isn't your ward. This is his. And Wilson's last appeal to him didn't work because I think for him it's like, you're trying to, like, he's like, I've made my choice. I'm not Christian anymore. You calling me Christian? And it's like, no, like, this is who I am. This is who I become. My father's kind of all I have right now, because it's like, you know, because if he turned his back on his dad, who's to say his dad probably wouldn't have killed him, but he made his choice and he throws Wilson out the window. And for Alma, it's like, right, he's going to the point, there's no going back now. And I think that's the point. It's a point to show her, everyone else. And I don't know, like, he wasn't thinking about it at the time. You know, he was so wrapped up in doing what his father wanted him to be who his father wanted him to be. He's like, all hail the king, and kills Wilson, and he sees down there Teeny, and even Alma catches the way he's looking at Teeny, like there's something there. And you have Susie coming over, like, and crying, you know, over Wilson's body. Once again, the full circle of, I guess to an extent, Teeny's the orphan now. And not just her, a lot of people are orphan now because Wilson's gone, and that's a byproduct of you. Are you willing to accept the consequences? Alma, you set this in motion, you know? And just Scale ends up walking away from it all. So the question now becomes, now that Wilson's removed from the board, Ono chose his side. Like, what does this mean now? Because I'm sure, like, everyone else is going to fall in line. Everyone that was Wilson's people, are they going to fall in line to Parko? Or, you know, they don't have their leader anymore. So what's going to happen to them is the big question, you know? What's Alma going to do about Christian Scale? Like, is there anything left there? You know, the Romeo and Juliet thing of, like, right. Or, you know, Teeny is never going to be, because once again it was like, for Scale it's like, right, you like you said, it was just a dream. It was too painful to dream because we can't escape who we are here, you know. And it's like, right, I've accepted that, like, we got to move on from that, you know. I am my father's son, just like you or your your Wilson's ward. And it's like our roles are set in stone. It's like, I think maybe for Christian, for Scale, there was no other way. This is the only path forward. This is the only road that was open to him anymore. It definitely is now. Like, he's made his choice, and I don't know if there's any coming back from that, if there's any saving him now, because he already regretted things he's done, and now he's doubled down and made his choice. So we'll see where all this goes going forward. I don't know if everything's going to always be copacetic between Scale and Parko. Now he's just going to probably be like, bury everything he's feeling and just do what Parko wants. But, you know, what Alma said before doesn't change. Like, so things are going to blow up in Parko's face. It's not going to work out the way he wants them to. So that's why I'm thinking that, I don't know. The question will be, will it even be worth it at the end? All that she went through to save her son, like, was it all worth the bloodshed, the death, the consequences? He may end up getting himself killed staying with Parko, considering, like, all that Parko's got on his side. And it's like, oh, like I said, I think Parko thinks he's in control, and I think it's all, like, going to blow up in his face, and I think he's going to end up dead. Now, whether that's Alma that's going to end up killing him, whether it's going to be Scale, I feel like it's very poetic for it to be Scale that ends up killing him, but maybe it'd actually be Alma in her attempt to save Scale, or even the U.S. government, just because it's like, right, you served your purpose. we'll see how it all ultimately ends up playing out. I'm curious to see where episode 4 takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.